Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Oh, can you hear?
Hold on. One sec. All right, how's that?
Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay,
All right, we can
perfect.
hear you
There we
now.
go. All
Awesome. How
right.
you doing today, Charity?
I'm doing well. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
too.
I'm Colin and that's Tim.
Hi, Colin. Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I recognize
But
Tim from the picture.
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I didn't know if you guys knew face to face or
yeah,
whatever. Okay.
Now,
yeah. We really appreciate your time, and we're really excited to do this. I wanted to like, is there any questions you have before we start, or like anything that you want to address before we begin? I did add one question. I wanted to ask the rapid recode
mm,
process. I was just
yes.
gonna like dedicate a question to that so you can
Okay,
explain that. But I'm
that
sure
sounds
you'll
good.
you'll probably naturally get into that. But yeah,
Okay.
like kind of like I mentioned on our phone call, like this isn't like live or anything. So if there's ever anything you want to like edit or cut out or change at all, like we work with you until you're fully satisfied with it, and
Okay,
we'll
cool.
we'll end up sending you like full show notes on what we talked about at each time window and just a description about you, and obviously like you get the final sign off before we publish it. So
Cool. That's way better than what I've experienced. I did a live with I think I had told you this, right? With
yeah.
PBN Podcast News Business. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was really interesting because there was no takebacks.
Right.
Got it.
Did it end up being a good, like did it end up doing well, like
You
the
know,
final cut? Or
well, I've edited some of them a little bit, but I haven't really done much with them.
uh-huh.
I didn't get any kind of calls or anything from the broadcast or
Mm-hmm.
anything, so it was a really good experience as far
Good.
as being able to share and talk about the work. So it was
Mm-hmm.
good experience as far as that's concerned. So that's what got me excited to do more.
Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy you initiated this as well. I think you definitely have a unique story. I'm excited to kind of talk through everything with you. So
Oh yeah, that'll be great. Thank you. I'm excited too. I'm a little nervous.
That's all
hey, it's
right.
okay. It's okay.
Just
Okay,
having a conversation.
Yeah.
awesome.
So Charity, I guess kind of kick things off, maybe for our listeners, introduce yourself, maybe quick background, kind of how we got here, and we'll dive in the weeds in between.
All right, that's great. I am Charity Golden. I am a certified magnetic mind coach. I was trained under Christopher M. Duncan, who is the founder of the Magnetic Mind Program and the Rapid Recode process. I am founder of Magical Universe Coaching. That is my coaching business. And I basically help people to shift out of that old identity structure and the problem orientation in order to create the results that they want to achieve.
Okay.
So a lot of people are stuck and a lot of people don't know why they're stuck. And so I help them to get unstuck and to start dreaming, believing and achieving again.
Oh, what a perfect collab.
Yeah.
Because Roy is about getting unstuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah, you said magnetic mindset. Go into that a little bit. What is that?
The magnetic mind program is it's a coaching program that helps you to tap into your subconscious mechanisms and patterns and all of those self-limiting beliefs that you've carried since childhood, and it's a lot about education to transformation, and then also these processes that help you that are based on NLP, EFT, emotion focused therapy, neurolinguistics programming. It's all based on science and neuroscience, on the idea that you can rewire your brain,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and that you can rewire your brain and also your body chemistry, and uh, in that way you can change how you feel, you can
Mm-hmm.
change your perspective, and you can really change your life.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure like a big part of that process is addressing those limitations that you were talking about and like being
Yes.
aware of them. Uh,
Yeah.
what does that process look like? Like when you walk through the people you work with, like how do
Sure.
you discover those limitations? And I guess like what are some of the most common limitations you see from people to people?
Okay. Okay. So first we do unpacking. We call it
Mm-hmm.
unpacking, and it's kind of a discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that every session. We actually have 5 steps that we use in all of the processes. Is one, to create a true choice, and I can tell you about that. Create a true choice, get into the emotion of the end result, create a structural tension, which is creative tension, and that's just basically looking at your current reality. And then you unpack, unplug, and recode, and then you take aligned action. So those are the 5 steps that we use in all the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, though, people aren't. What's different about this program is that unlike therapy, you kind of go back and instead of just cleaning off your side of the fence, your side of the street, you go and dig up the bones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you spend a lot of time with the bones. And in these processes, it's not necessary to know, because a lot of people don't even know why they're stuck. They don't know what those self-limiting beliefs are. So a lot of it is discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And the wonderful thing about this processes and these processes are that you don't have to know those mechanisms necessarily to be able to treat it.
Mm-hmm.
We've put the focus on your desired results. And
Gotcha.
that's another difference, is that we're not focused on problem solving. We're focused on what you want to achieve and becoming in alignment with that, and that resonance and that frequency and that energy. Because what you put your focus on is where your energy goes, and that's what creates your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are stuck in this perspective that they created when they were 4 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
This wounded perspective. And that's the top 6 wounds. The top 6 limiting beliefs are: I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm incapable, I'm insignificant, I don't belong, and I need to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, I was like, that's all me when I first, and a lot of, and the thing is that even as you evolve and grow, it's not that it's not that those self-limiting beliefs go away, but what
Mm-hmm.
you do get is the ability to not have your focus there, and you have the tools to manage it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And this reminds me of I think it was like an audio tape I listened to by Earl Nightingale. And one of the things he said is like, you become what you think about. And I think that goes across, like that kind of goes in tandem what you're talking about, where you direct your focus. So
Yes,
like the fact that you
absolutely.
kind of gear it towards the end result. And yeah, that's good. The people you work with like so far, is there like, I'm sure you offer different maybe packages or like
Mm-hmm.
service offerings, but how long does this process usually take? I'm sure it's different for different people, but
Yeah.
like as you work with people, like how long is the timeline of what you work with them for?
You can have shifts, and a lot of people do, and I did, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I actually I got involved in the program myself as a client.
Mm-hmm.
Because from that very first ad that I saw, which you usually click, 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 skip ad, well, something about it drew me in. And from that moment, I started shifting. So
Mm-hmm.
the rapid recode process, the reason it's so powerful and it's so amazing is because you can start shifting immediately, and you
Mm-hmm.
can start feeling that change in your body immediately. But it does take, it's a lifetime of programming that we're basically, reprogramming. We're installing new data, new belief structures, new feelings. And so it does take time to educate and assimilate this into a lifelong process. So that way it's like when you're learning how to drive a car. At first when you're learning how to drive a car, you you have all of these things going on, and it's crazy. Like if you think back when you were 15,
Right.
and it's crazy. But now you could do it with your eyes closed, and a lot of times you probably do it automatically and don't know how you ended up there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of what our unconscious mechanisms and patterns are, is that autopilot drive mode. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we do in this work is we discover this autopilot we have going on, see what serves us, see what doesn't serve us, and let go of what doesn't serve us. And
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of like learning how to drive your
Mm.
life over again.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned, Charity, a couple different techniques you used,
Mm-hmm.
some emotional techniques.
Yes.
So I'm curious how you go about finding at which age that specific trauma for that specific issue came from, because
Sure.
I've experienced NET, neuro emotional technique,
Yes.
by a more holistic chiropractor when I grew
Mm-hmm.
up. So if it is something similar to that, what's your way of finding out, okay, this is the age that we're going to work with, because that's where I think this trauma is coming from.
Right. Well, this work, a lot of it is intuitive work, right? And we deal with the consciousness on 3 levels. We have the self-conscious, the ego, the subconscious, and those are the emotional pattern keepers. And then we have what we call as the superconscious, and some people call it the collective unconscious. Some people call it the information field, where that's just infinite awareness. And so being able to tap into all of those conscious levels gives us the opportunity to not even have to know what that event was. I mean, we actually go back in the ancestral timeline, because it's been shown scientifically that we carry in our DNA 7 generations back of trauma, and it gets carried into our DNA.
Oh
And
wow.
if you think about that, it makes sense because we're animals, right? And it's like the example of the elephant that gets tied to a post and it gets punished for trying to escape, can't escape, can't escape. Well, it has a baby. Well, that elephant, that new baby won't even try to escape. It's written in his DNA that that's not something that you could do, is dangerous. And it's all about us surviving as a species. So that's why that DNA is, that trauma is carried forward, is a mechanism for us to survive. So that
Okay.
way, remember, oh, that lion, you know. But a lot of times we have these fears and this trauma that doesn't actually apply to our life now,
Mm.
right? And we have this fear of the lion that doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, oh, I just lost my question. It'll come back. Yes. Um, this is a very different type of work,
Yes.
and I have always been very fascinated by it, like energy, things like that.
Yes.
How, like, what led you to start to realize this, like these were things, like the three different levels of the conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and doing this type of work? Because yeah, there's not many people out there that do it, let alone
Right.
even know that it exists. So how
Yeah.
did it
It's
kind of cross your path?
it's actually becoming more popular and more well known. Work of Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, William Whitecloud, Colette Stryker, and these types of people that are the forefront of this work of rewiring your brain. And it's for me, I come from a background of childhood abuse and patterns of self destruction and addiction. And I literally struggled almost most of my life with that and mental health issues in and out of the psych unit. And I tried therapy and I tried this and I tried that. And I eventually ended up in a second abusive marriage that almost killed me. And I ended up facing prison and having the addiction that was just not, I didn't know what to do with it. And I ended up in recovery for about 3 years in this sober bubble in a 12-step program, and it saved my life. And I was still in the therapy, still going to years of therapy. But the thing is, though, is that I stumbled upon this work and everything shifted for me. And I just knew that it was different. Um, and it was because it gave me my power back. And you said something earlier that intrigued me about you are what you think. Well, we have a term called be it to see it, right? And it's all about the fact that you're not broken. This work, the premise that's different about this work from other modalities is that, like healing modalities, even, is that, hey, you come to me, I'll fix you. And then you come to me with this problem, I'll fix that problem. But keep coming to me so I can keep fixing your problems. Because and the
Right,
thing
right.
is that you're focused on the problems. There's never going to be any shortage of problems.
Hmm.
Whereas as is this modality, we take the premise that you're not broken and you're not damaged. And it's not that healing isn't necessary. Healing happens because of the work that you do, right? But you can create what you want, just as you are, just as you are. And you don't have to fix yourself to do it. I mean, you can look at a lot of people that are not the best people per se as far as human beings go. Like, I'm not going to, I could throw a bunch of people out there, but let's say, it's so political, but Trump, he is an amazing creator, right? He creates.
Mhm.
He is not worried about whether he's a good person or not. I mean, maybe he does worry about that, but the truth is, though, is that he's a creator. He creates as he is, and he doesn't feel like he's got to fix anything about himself to start creating. Michael Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, lots of damage, lots of trauma, but that didn't keep her from just creating where she was at,
Hmm.
right? And that's the thing, is that a lot of us get hung up on this idea that, well, when I fix this about myself, then I'll be able to do that. When I lose weight, then I'll model, or then I'll put myself out there. When I do this, then, right? This whole transactional idea. And it's like this unwritten message to yourself saying, when I get there, it'll be better. And then you end up chasing the carrot to better, and you never get there because you always bring you with you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But you're not broken. It's your structure. So that's the other thing. Oh, this work is it's based on the idea that success isn't personal. Has nothing to do with you. It's structural. And what people are stuck in is this problem orientation, like I was kind of touched on just a moment ago, where we need problems to motivate. Like every choice that you make, think about the choices that you make. It's because, I want this job because I don't like this job and I'm not happy here. I want a relationship because I don't have a relationship. I want this, but it's based on a structure of lack and scarcity. Whereas what we do is we create a structure for you, and you learn how to create a structure for yourself that is called the creative orientation. And that's where you're just focused on what it is you want to create. How does that feel? And what is and it's really about the emotion of the end result. Because the end result isn't about that car, that new fancy car. It's about what that car makes you feel like, right?
Mhm.
And we get hung up on the car, and then come to realize I have the car. Because if you don't have abundance with $5 in your pocket, you're not going to have abundance with $1 million in your pocket. You're still going to be miserable.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And for the people out there that that are stuck, and to them or whatever's happened with them, they haven't created anything. Is there any like exercises or activities or habits that you instill or walk through the people you work with that at least guides them towards that shift to at least
Sure.
starting? Because obviously it's easy to be like, oh, just start, but
Yeah.
probably that's probably one of the hardest things. Like, is there any like
Mm-hmm.
behaviors, activities, or anything that can shift that mindset to creator mindset?
Well, actually, we have a process called anchoring,
Mm-hmm.
and it's based on, if you probably have this from 101 psychology 101, is Pavlov's dogs, where he was studying dogs and the salivary glands of dogs, and he would ring a bell, and then he would feed the dogs. Well, eventually he would ring the bell, right, and the dogs would start to salivate because they knew food was next, right? So that external stimulus created an internal response, and that was huge, because the truth is that, I mean, when we're triggered, that's the exact thing that happens. Someone
Yeah.
looks at me funny. Oh, dad used to look at me funny. Anxiety, fear, all of these things come up, right? But we can like hack that mechanism within ourselves. And that's one of the first steps that I work on with my clients, because it builds that belief that, oh my gosh, I am in charge of my emotions. Because a lot of times it's the emotions that really keep us in that rabbit hole. We don't know how to shift it, right? And our emotions are just messengers. They're just telling us something. So it's I for my work, I do, you'll hear feelings aren't facts. And what that means, and I used to hate that statement. I did. I used to hate it. I was like, my feelings are, sure, they're facts. I know they're real. But what they mean by that is that what you're feeling usually isn't. It's about an emotional imprint of something that happened to you in your past. It's
Interesting.
usually not based on what is happening. It has no real relevance to what is really happening right now. And let's say you have a relationship and you're having an argument with your spouse or your significant other, and you're arguing about like jealousy issues or insecurities. And the truth is that you're having an emotional response based on an experience that you had in the past of abandonment, of betrayal, and you're taking that with you into this moment, and it may have no relevance to what you're actually experiencing. Because what we do is we distort, generalize, and delete. We have these filters. And like I said, we create these filters when we're about 4 years old, about that age that our subconscious is really developing. And when the way that this works is that I'll take you on the human journey. Everyone goes through it. The human journey, you're in the womb, you have everything, you have all your needs met, and you want for nothing. Then you're born and you go through this individuation process where you experience your separateness. And in experiencing that separateness, you become wounded. And it's not necessarily that people are doing bad things to you, it's just in that need and not having those needs met, right? Or feeling like those needs aren't met, you start to create these rules of how the world works. Those become your beliefs. Your beliefs become your perception. And then you're wearing these 4-year-old goggles and looking at the world and experiencing it and seeing it through those eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Wow.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just, it's always fascinating to hear how deep it really goes.
It
Like
is.
it's not a surface level argument with somebody. The road rage isn't about the person who cuts you off.
No, no.
Um,
It's usually about a lack of control or
yep.
something else that's going on, you know.
Um,
But
do
we all
you
experience it.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah. People were idiots the last 2 days on the road. I'm a genius when I drive. It's fine.
Yes,
Um,
see, exactly.
do you
Exactly.
do you do work with couples?
I work, yeah, well, I do relationship work. I haven't
Okay.
I don't necessarily, I haven't worked with the couples together
Okay.
yet. I've worked with people on their relationship issues, on and some of the processes that we do. It's working on that, um, that subconscious level of seeing your partner and being able to get that distance from, drop the storyline. Basically, we're so close sometimes to an event, to a situation, that we lose our perspective, right? And we get sucked in, like I said, to the emotions. So a lot of times it's about someone being able to be a mirror to you. So I'm a mirror to them in a way that shows them what they are thinking, what they're feeling, what they really are going through, because a lot of times we can't see ourselves.
Right.
We can't see ourselves in the moment, right? So yes, I do work with people on relationship. It's, this work works for any kind of situation, for life,
Yeah.
living life on life's terms.
You you mentioned about if you have an argument with your spouse, it's not really about that or significant other, and and I think just silly arguments in relationships these days are
Mm-hmm.
common.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have an exercise or something that can maybe help? Maybe there's a couple listening or one person in
Right.
the relationship. It's like, oh, we have the dumbest fights every day. Is there anything
Right.
they can do to reduce those?
I would ask a lot of questions, and one of them would be, where's the power? Where's the power is a powerful question, because a lot of times what we do is we're either giving our power to another person, we're giving our power to fear, we're giving our power to the emotions, we're giving our power, we give our power away. And what I would add, when I ask that question, a lot of times people automatically see it. They see it because the truth is that they have the answers inside them the whole time.
Hmm.
They have their own answers, right? It's just we don't want to see them, we don't want to admit them. So a lot of it too is taking ownership. Like everything in my life, I may have gone through things that bad things happened, right? But it's my responsibility to do something about it, because I played a role in how I carried it with me, right? It's not the other person's job to heal me. It's not the other person's job to even make up for what happened to me. It's what I do with it, what I've chosen to. I assigned a meaning to it, and I've taken that with me, and that's on me, right? And the beautiful thing about that is that since I own that, and I say, that means I am taking my power back, and I can change it, since I own the things in my life that are happening. So it's a lot of looking at, like, okay, well, what's your role in it? What is your part in the situation, truthfully and honestly? And really acknowledging that. And it's something I learned in recovery: face it, name it, claim it, tame it. And
I like that.
I love that. I love that. I still, there's a lot, I don't think I'll ever not have program in my coaching, just because it is such something that, like, did save my life. So, and I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that extreme ownership,
Mm-hmm.
ask each other questions. Yeah, I think that's good. I just think, I don't know, silly things happen, right? I've been in
Yeah.
relationships where it's like, man, the same fight over and over, but that
Yes.
extreme ownership. Yeah, you made some incredible points because a few years ago, my mom, like, I was in a pretty low spot, and it
Yeah.
was, hey, we are where we are because of every decision we have ever made.
Yes.
It's like, if I hated that job, I signed the line in the
Yes.
contract. Like, I
Yes.
made every decision. And I'm a fixer and healer, and she's had to instill in me, like, not everything is broken. Not everyone needs to be fixed.
Yes. Right.
So when you're talking about we're just wired that way, we're not
Mm-hmm.
broken people.
Right.
Like, oh my God. Like,
It's
yeah,
just the
that's
structure. It's
right.
just the structure. It's like, for me, I use the metaphor of, like, okay, so the house that built me, the house I grew up in, right? And what I did is I took that house and I just carried it, and I'm looking out through the windows at life, and I'm experiencing life through this house that built me. And what we want to do is we want to see the house, accept that the house is there, right? But then put our focus onto what we want. But if you think about it, how, as we get older, how often do we dream? and let ourselves feel good. We practice feeling bad. We wallow in it. We literally are so comfortable with the feeling, that chemical cocktail, that it gets comfortable to us. I mean, there's even I at one point felt that I was addicted to pain. There's books out there, Addicted to Pain. And for me, that like there was a belief that love equals pain. If someone loves you, they hurt you, and that means they love you, right? And so I kept those patterns, and I kept attracting that into my life until I was able to recognize a pattern and say, oh, wow, that's me. That's me. And that's okay, right? I can
Right.
choose differently now. I mean, choice is freedom. And and like I said about the choices, the first step is creating a true choice. And a lot of times what we start people on as far as choices, because so many of our choices are reactive into that problem. And so looking at it from the vantage point of, I would just love this. I would love to create this. I would love to have this because I get this energy from it. And so we start people on these four core orientational choices because we don't have practice in it, right? We don't know how to do it. And the core choices are, I choose to live a life I love. I mean, just think about that. How broad is that? And I
Yeah.
mean, and it's just like a North Star. I choose health and vitality because you have to have health and vitality in order to have a life you love. I choose to be the predominant creative force in my life. And I choose my true nature and purpose, to live in my true nature and purpose. And in saying that, if you would say those, there's an energy about it. You know you have a good true choice when it lights you up from the inside. And then what we do at the second step is we get you into that emotion of where you beat it to see it, where you set that emotional set point for your brain and your body and allow yourself to feel the feelings now. Because if I tell you to imagine a dog, boom, there's memories of dogs in your head. There's
Yeah.
images of dogs in your head. Now I say, okay, pet the dog. And if I had you close your eyes and visualize petting the dog, you might even smell the dog. You might feel the fur. You might feel different kinds of fur. All these things will come to your brain. And the science shows that your brain lights up as though you're really petting a dog, as though it's happening to you in the external world, even though it's just in here.
Mm.
So when we
Wow.
do that with the, let's say we wallow in the pain of our past, we are re-experiencing and re-traumatizing ourselves all the time. But what we can do instead is to focus on that, the feeling of driving that Maserati, or that, or for me it'd
Now
be a
we're
Jeep.
talking.
For me it'd be a Jeep, right? A Jeep with the top, no top, just
Yeah.
feel in the air, and we can feel that now. And once you're in that feeling, you start resonating with that, and what it does is it opens up your mind. And so as far as your focus, because when I say what you focus on is what you create, it's like saying, okay, well, I'm interested in, I used to do this with, like, I would have relationships, and whatever my boyfriend was interested in, I was interested in. I was interested in poker. Oh, wow, I'm interested in poker. And then all of a sudden, so everything that would come to me, your brain, just deletes, distorts, and generalizes. So it has a mechanism in your brain that actually filters out and highlights things that are in your mindset. It's literally a mindset. So if you start, like we talk about this work, I bet you, oh, it's like that thing where they say if you see a red station wagon or something like that, or you buy a red station, all of a sudden you see nothing but red station wagons everywhere,
Mhm.
right? So it's that whole idea of like, what now for you, you're going to start noticing this work everywhere. You're going to start
Sure.
noticing
Yep.
this work that we're talking about today in everything that you see. You're like, wow, I didn't realize it was so prevalent. But the truth was is that it was there. You just didn't see it because you were blind to it.
Mm.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Like and going back like with the visualization and
Yes.
like imagining things, it sounds like incorporating as many senses as possible into the visualization makes it that much more clear. Like you talked about
Yes.
even the smell. And yeah,
Yes.
they did like studies on memory too. Like they're saying how like
Mm-hmm.
smelling things like that might be the most powerful like memory mechanism for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you can reverse engineer it into projecting the future too. So
And they found that they used to think that the long-term memories were hardwired, that you couldn't change the imprint. And what they found is that there's actually a reconsolidation moment when you think about that moment in the past where you can actually take away the pain and the trauma and keep the learning.
Mm.
I mean, it's been proven. And so what that means for us is that when we do this work and we go back and let's say we do a process and uh, and a recode, maybe a recode, is that we can let that pain go because it's not necessary anymore. And the only place that it exists is in our head and in our bodies, right? Because the past doesn't exist anymore.
Hmm.
It just exists up here.
Yeah.
And that's what we do is we keep repeating it.
Hmm.
If you think about how many new ideas do you have in the day where you really are like it's not, we are on a repeat of yesterday. And that's what we want to do is we want to get out of that structure of repeat on repeat of yesterday, feeling new feelings, you know.
Yeah. So if someone's stuck in that rut where like, man, I'm on this hamster wheel,
Mm-hmm.
what's a simple action step that they can take to just spice up their routine, get out of that the repeat? What's a
Mm-hmm.
simple thing that someone can do if they see them, they recognize the patterns?
Well, there's a couple of things that aren't necessarily magnetic mind, but that work.
Okay.
You could do opposite action, and basically, it's like I don't feel like going to the gym, and what you do is you go to the gym and you show up. I mean, there's a lot of work out there about. There's a book called The Atomic Habits, and
Oh
talks
yeah.
about making micro habits, and so doing that opposite action. And what you're doing is you're practicing the habit of that identity of the person that shows up to the gym. So even the smallest actions, a lot of times what happens is that we have built within ourselves this belief that we don't follow through, or we aren't this or we aren't that, right? So every action that you take, action is the highest form of communication, and it actually is the highest form of communication we have with our brains and ourselves, right? If I say I'm a standing up person, Chris uses this in his work as an example. If I say I'm a standing up person, but I'm sitting down, well, my brain is like, no, you're not. No, you're not, right? And so the more that we teach ourselves through our actions by, move a muscle, change a thought, just getting up physically out of that moment, it can actually change your perspective. It's something that's worked for me, and it's amazing that it works. It
Hmm.
does.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would say get up, do the next do something, like don't just stay where you are. Do the opposite action.
Hmm.
I
Just
like
take
that.
baby steps.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little not as deep, but there's a Seinfeld
Yeah.
episode where George Costanza does the opposite of everything he would normally do, and
Right.
his life just improves exponentially for that day.
Yeah.
He ends up with a
Yeah, it's like
girlfriend. He's getting a job. He's
yeah.
got a car.
I
Like,
remember that one.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, "What? This works."
So you're
Yeah.
saying just do the opposite? I'm just thinking George Costanza the whole day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. It's funny, but sometimes it's the simplest things, and action, and that's the fifth step for us is taking an aligned action. So action is what, it's not like you can sit here and manifest and I mean, maybe there's a few people in the world that can do that, but most people, what it takes is that action. If I sit here and I get into the emotion of the end result, and that's great, it feels good to feel great and everything like that, but is that going to move me towards what I want? And we have a process called the lens process, and it's a different kind of goal setting strategy where you set that GPS, that goal, and you allow the path to be revealed, just like a GPS, right? And sometimes, you may have a stop over here or a stop over there, but your destination is the destination,
Right.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that's what you're focused on.
Yeah. Yeah. End result. Um, with within your process, how do you instill discipline? Like, I know there's
Mm.
so much motivation and things like that. We can get motivated for a day, for a week,
Right, right.
but especially when coming from something traumatic or a
Mm.
very low point in depression or anxiety,
Yeah.
you have your good and bad days. How
Mm-hmm.
do you help teach people discipline to stay consistent?
You know, for me, um, a big thing for me was making that commitment to myself and believing that I could change things, right? A lot of people just don't have that hope and that belief. And so holding that hope for them is huge. I think that I just lost my train of thought.
That's all right. I did it earlier too. It'll come back.
Oh gosh.
You're
Oh
saying you
gosh.
had a
Well,
hope and belief
right.
that you could get
Well,
back.
for people that are struggling, right? That are stuck in the emotions, it isn't easy to just shift. It's like that someone would tell you, well, just snap out of it. Change your
Right.
mind. Well, okay.
Good luck. Yeah.
That's nice. Thanks a lot for your empathy.
Yeah.
But but a lot of it really is, I think, allowing the moment but not swimming in it. Having a coach helps you to have that person that can help pull you out of that rabbit hole to help shift you, right? Because we can't, we can't do it alone. We can't do anything alone. None of us do anything alone.
Yeah.
So having that support mechanism, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coach, but reaching out to somebody else and asking for that help is probably the first huge step. Being willing to do that. Now, the discipline of it, I have a lot of procrastinators for clients. I have a lot of people, I mean, because we talk about self sabotage all the time. And what that self sabotage is, of when you want to quit, when you want to run, when you want to escape and hide, or you divert your attention somewhere else. That's the ego pulling you back into that behavior and to back into old patterns because that's where it's comfortable. Because basically you have your current reality over here, you have your desired reality over here, and these are two identities that are not equal. Because if you think about here in this current reality where we're talking about the problem orientation and lack, right? I want this because I don't have love. I want this because I don't have money. I want this
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have, right? That's an identity. That's an identity structure. And so as you move towards having it, your ego goes, whoa, wait a minute. And it literally thinks it's built to survive. It's built to keep you alive. And it really thinks it's like death. It equates it to death, right? Because if I'm that person that has abundance and love and just, and financial freedom, can I also be the person who doesn't feel worthy, isn't deserving, and is incapable? They're two they're two different identity structures. And so what you do in this work, it is about practicing being in that desired reality, in that emotion, because then what you do is you're able to shift.
Mm.
You're able to shift. And there is no I don't think any magic remedy for like to have your clients want to be disciplined, right? They're either going to want it, and a lot of times, what has to happen, and it had to happen for me, is that the pain had to get so bad. I had to be
Yeah.
facing prison. I had 8 felonies from my abusive marriage. I was and stuck in addiction. The pain had to get so bad. I had a stroke, and my
Jeez.
brain broke. I mean, it had to get so bad that I finally decided to do something about it. And honestly, a lot of people, that's what it takes. It takes that pain point, that bottom, to
Mm-hmm.
make them search and try.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just, want to take a moment to encourage anybody that's struggling with anything like that. That's any trauma, any kind of, where they're down in the rabbit hole, to, if it's just a matter of wash that face, brush your teeth, um, you know, if you got out of bed today, congratulations, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves that grace and that credit for the struggle,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we
Appreciate
appreciate
that.
because
that.
I'd been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we really do appreciate you sharing that with us. And going off that, my question was, has going through those trials and tribulations, like how has that helped you? Or I guess what lessons have you learned from those, and how has it helped you serve people with what you're doing right now? Like, is there anything like help you relate better with people? Like,
Yeah,
how have you used that as an asset now?
it's totally an asset. the everything that happened to me happened for me. They're all
Mhm.
assets. My darkest, deepest moments are now what I can use to reach somebody in their darkest, deepest moments, because I have been there. Maybe not
Mhm.
exact that exact same place, but I've been there, and I can relate. And just that, just being actually a model of what this work can do. I'm a walking testimony for what this work can do. I was disabled. I was still, even though I was in recovery, I was still stuck in the addiction of fear, and now I've transcended it, and that can happen for other people too. But a lot of times we don't see the other people, like just even being a model for somebody else's can be that hope that they can change. They see
Mhm.
you and they're like, oh wow. For me, it's like, oh wow, if she can do it, if she can do it, I might have a chance. You're saying I got a chance,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Saying I got a
Yeah.
chance.
Saying I got a chance.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I did that answer your question?
It did, yeah. And I guess going off that as well, like obviously, like as you work with the people you do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it hammers home these concepts to you. But like, is there anything extra you do to, because obviously it's a lifelong journey. Like we can
Yes.
all be better, and we're always constantly changing. Is there anything that you continue to do in your own life that you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of instilling in other people, or like any practices that you're doing
Oh
to keep
yeah. I
growing?
I have to walk the walk.
Hmm.
I have to walk the walk I talk,
Hmm.
and or else I'm no good to anybody.
Right.
Is the way I feel about it. I mean, I had at one point went back to college to as an adult to after my first abusive marriage to uh, fix myself. I was like, well, none of these people can fix me. So I took psychology. I have a degree in psychology, and then I ended up with a master's in sociology and research. And I still was lost. I was still lost. I was trying to find the answers. And what I love about the work that I'm doing now is that the answers I'm finding are already within me. And we just don't know how to reach them. And what it takes sometimes is somebody to guide us to that revelation, right? And like I said, there is a lot of intuition work that we do. It's very heart centered, and I think that for me, going through these things myself, a lot of people are are afraid to ask for help because they feel they'll be judged. And in seeing somebody who I mean I share my story openly. I share my struggles. Is seeing that, just because I have a coach doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. Right? I have not arrived. And anybody that said they've arrived, you need to like say okay and say thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
because
Right.
if they, because we're all on our journey,
Hmm.
and life always shows up. We're always it's Abraham Hicks. I love Abraham Hicks. She always talks about the contrast. There's always going to be that contrast in life, and what I mean by contrast is that resistance. We call it resistance, and what that does is that actually helps you, points you in the direction, and it's like the shadow. It points you in the direction of where the light is, points you in the direction of, okay, well, I obviously don't like that. I don't want to feel that again. So what do I want to feel?
Right.
And going to that, it's just knowing that you have to be able to know. For a long time, for me, I had this belief that nothing would change, but if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah. We talked about that on the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Things have to
Yeah.
change for things to change.
Yes, absolutely. And any little steps in any little steps, any baby steps, um, is progress.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's all about progress,
Yeah.
right? Progress, not perfection. I have a lot of these ditties
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in my
And
head.
you hit on kind of hit a question I had of how to ask for help, and you went over asking
Yes.
for help.
Yeah.
If someone's listening to this, and hopefully people listening to this, if they want to reach out to someone like you, they reach out to you. But
Yes.
if they're based on location, one and in person, how would you advise people seeking out someone, a coach that can help in this field? What should they look for? What kind of questions should they ask that person if they're listening and like, wow, I need that in my life?
Well, I I think that it it's just like with therapy. That the truth is that it's a lot about rapport and trust, And if you have a good feeling about somebody and have a good feeling about what they, if they light you up and if they give you tools, then then you it's basically that you want to see if you're comfortable, want to see if you have that trust level, because if I don't trust somebody, they could have all of the answers in the world for me. They could have all of the greatest resources and everything, like all the best things to learn. But if I don't trust them, I won't hear them. Right? So getting someone that you feel comfortable with, and also look up reviews. Look up people that have said good things about them or about the program, and see what what the results other people have achieved with them. I mean, do a little bit of research. It'll
Yeah.
pay off.
Mhm.
Like I offer a group coaching program. I offer 2 master classes, and one of the master classes I offer is actually the master class I took. And then I also I'm developing a new program that's launching in April, and that's more of an individual and group combo.
Cool.
And so it's all online, it's all virtual, and that's the other thing too, is that with COVID happening, there is no shortage of virtual coaching available,
Yeah.
and
That's a
help
good point.
and
Yep.
help too. And the thing though is that my coaching, and I'm very clear about this, it's not therapy. My coaching I'm not a licensed therapist. I am, and if someone is thinking about suicide, and they're really struggling, then they need to reach out to those suicide hotlines. They need to reach out to get the help that they need to get somewhere safe. Because I love my program and it works great, but if you're in crisis, you need to deal with people who can help you through that crisis.
Yeah.
And
Good
it's really
point.
important to know there's a difference.
Yeah. Right. And when did you officially start this business?
I started a year ago.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a
And
new business, it's a growing business. Yes.
yeah, good. What has your growth been like over the last year?
It's been slow.
Okay.
It's been slow going. And that's partly because my biggest challenge was that when I got certified, I was like, oh, wow, I get to coach now. No, you don't. You have to learn business. You
Yeah.
have to learn, you get bookkeeping, taxes,
Yeah.
marketing. And that for me is like, I'm an Atari world and I'm an Atari girl in the Facebook world and a TikTok world now. And so for me, growing organically is something that I'm learning how to do.
Mhm.
So that's probably my weak point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any like big thing that you've become a lot better at, or like anything that you've learned or through that process, that like the business aspect?
I've learned that it's not that I have to know everything. It's
Uh-huh.
that I can have like seeking resources.
Right.
I have my own coach. I have my own business coach. I have people that I network with that if I don't know something, I can find the answer and get them an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it is about developing that network of resources and knowing where to
Mm-hmm.
look for your answers.
Yeah.
Right? That was one thing that I struggled with a lot in my youth, and I had a lot of missed opportunities because I did not know that there were resources out there. I was stuck in a helplessness state of mind. And so in that state of mind, I lost my children to the abuser. And because I didn't know that I had resources of people I could help, I didn't know that I could ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of it, even with the business, it's not necessarily that you have to know everything, which I am learning a lot. You do just learn as you go.
Sure.
And I think that my greatest strength is that I like to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helps me. It's not, to me, it's like, oh, wow, I got something new, you
Right.
know. But it can be daunting. I know it's daunting to a lot of the people that have been certified and reached out and started coaching. It's to really allow yourself to, one, be seen, go for it, put yourself out there. I think that's the thing most of my peers have struggled with, is just doing it, just putting yourself out there, right? Because those limiting beliefs come up Hey, I'm
Hmm.
Yeah.
here. You're going to be judged. They might not like you. They're going to
Don't.
reject you.
Yeah. Don't
And
post that.
yes,
Don't post it.
don't do it.
Feel better if
Uh,
you don't.
and
Yeah.
and the thing is that your tribe will find you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
People will
excellent
find you.
advice. Yeah, because I talk to a lot of people who they have an idea to start a business or they're already like starting a business and
Hmm.
they're scared to overcome those things that they're not good at or not familiar with. And yeah, to your point, like
And
it's
get a
all about
mentor.
asking. Yeah, it's all
Yes,
about mentor.
get a mentor.
Hmm.
Follow in the footsteps of people who are doing it.
Hmm.
Mimic them. There's a book called Steal Like an Artist
Okay.
because nothing's original.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just find the people who are doing it the way you want to do it, and take take the action and
Hmm.
follow through.
Hmm.
Was that something that you had a tough time with at first, like kind of putting the camera on yourself, putting your story out there? What'd that process look like for you? Because I used to struggle with that hardcore. I was like, oh, I don't
Yeah,
want my face out there. And now it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah,
watch me or
yeah.
don't. I don't care. I'm going to sleep at
Right,
night.
right,
Um,
right.
what'd that process look like for you?
Well, for me, I used to be a model, so being in front of the camera wasn't a big thing. But talking in front of the camera was a totally different thing for me. So it's really that I I just did it. I just started doing it. I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it ugly. And that's what I tell my clients. Do it ugly, do it afraid. Just because you're afraid doesn't mean you can't do it. So do it ugly, do it afraid. Your first is your worst, and it'll only get better, right? So I've had moments where I fell flat on my face where I'm like, oh, that was the worst. But did I learn something? Yes. Did I have
Yeah.
the experience? Yes. And there's always something to take from it.
Hmm.
If you don't get in front of the camera, you're never going to know what you're capable of. If you don't tell your story, you're never going to know what it feels like to tell your truth, right? And I think that being able to share your story and know your story in a way that it doesn't define you any longer is a huge part of the journey of being an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do think that being an entrepreneur, it is a journey of self discovery.
Hmm.
Big time.
Yeah. And like the important thing is that like when you do something and whether you fall flat on your face or not, congratulating yourself for doing something for at least trying it and like reinforcing that because like that'll increase your chances of doing it again. So just
Yes,
like yeah,
yes,
patting yourself on the back because like
yeah,
there will be people in your life that will encourage you, like your family, your mentor, or whoever. But there, I mean, you got to be your biggest fan at the end of the day and cheer
you
yourself
do,
on when you try stuff because
you do.
not everyone may be there all the time. So.
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell you the truth that I am not there all the time either. You
Hmm.
know, I have to use these tools on myself to pull myself out of the rabbit hole when I start falling in it.
Hmm.
I have to reach out and I get extra coaching. I use my support networks. I because I'm human, and I still am doing the work on myself as I go along, and all I know is that I can help guide people that are not necessarily behind me, right? Because I don't want to say behind me, but wherever they are, I can walk with them on the journey too,
Hmm.
right? and
Yeah.
and that's a huge thing, is just not knowing that you're not alone.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're
I
not
like
alone
that.
in any of it.
Yeah. Especially because you said, to your point earlier, we can't do anything alone. Like
No, yeah, we
we're
don't.
not built that way.
No, we aren't. We aren't.
Tim, any other question? I know we have our final question, but
I'm trying to think.
anything else?
Is there any? Yeah, I guess one last one on mine. Like, is there anything like new that's on the horizon for you this coming in year? Like, do you have any big goals like for your own business or like
Sure.
for your approach? Like anything that new that you might be working on or excited about for this coming year?
Well, I'm enjoying doing the podcasts, and so that has
Mm-hmm.
been something that a lot of people have asked me if that's going to be a direction that I go,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of my group coaching is this kind of format,
Mm-hmm.
as far as education,
Yeah.
and so that's something that I am playing with. I am developing the next level. I call it next level program.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 6 month program, and that is for the serious seekers, people like that are consultants, coaches, healers, that are wanting to go to a deeper level, and and it's kind of a mentorship kind of a program. So
Hmm.
that's launching, and right now it's out for $5,000. That includes my group, it's individual, my master classes. So there's a lot that goes with the package, and it's normally seven, but right now it's 5,000 until April 1st.
Okay.
Awesome.
But I also offer. I have an intro lessons for $7 on my website, so
Hmm.
that people can like learn what the premises are for. And then I have a recode program that's 47 right now in January, and it's normally 497. So there's something if you really want to try it. I have a webinar I do every Thursday that's
Hmm.
free to try.
That's
So
awesome.
there you have nothing to lose but your limitations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And we'll plug all your website, social medias,
Great.
all that stuff. So yeah, where
Awesome.
can people find you before we forget? That ask.
MagicalUniverseCoaching.net, but it's spelled YOUniverse, like Magical
Hmm.
Universe
Okay.
Hmm.
Coaching.net. You can find me at Magical Universe on Facebook. I have a Facebook group as well as a Facebook page. And soon I'll be doing Instagram and
Okay.
Awesome.
maybe TikTok. So
Okay. New
look for that.
channels. I
I
love
do
it.
have a YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel as well, and it's under Magical Universe Coaching.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
We'll plug all that in the show notes and as well as our intro that
Awesome.
we do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had another
There's a lot of free
question.
content on there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. One I've been asking the entrepreneurs that we have on here is, and I'm sure you have quite a few, but how has being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself, made you a better person outside of running your business?
It's given me a lot of confidence. And you'd
Okay.
think it'd be the opposite, but it's given me a lot of confidence, and and also helped to stretch me, because if you're not uncomfortable, you're not really growing. And I'm uncomfortable a lot, but the thing is that discomfort comes from you stretching yourself, and I'm seeing ways, and I'm dreaming bigger than I've ever dreamt before. My family recognizes it. I've actually been able to restore relationships with my children, and it's had an impact on not only how I see myself but how others see me,
Hmm.
as far as my close circles, and also what they think is possible.
Yeah.
So I
That's
feel
good.
like by my success is their success, and vice versa.
Hmm.
So as I grow, I'm helping people to do that dream again,
Hmm.
That's
and
I
awesome.
then
love that.
believe and achieve.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Charity, we always have like a final question that we ask all our guests, but I want to make sure if there's anything that we haven't covered that you want to hit on, anything else you want to throw out there, plug anything new coming up, or just another thought or insight that you maybe we didn't hit on yet.
I think that the biggest thing, especially even when we were talking about entrepreneurship, is just don't quit, don't give up,
Mhm.
you know, um, because quitting was always an option for me. It was always like one of my solutions: quit, right? And that even included life. I tried to kill myself several times. Like I said, I was in and out of psych units, and a lot of that came from wanting to escape the pain. And I just want people to know that you don't have to stay in it, and things can change, and that not to lose hope. Hope is very powerful. Hope is more powerful than pain.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you sharing, a lot of what you did share. I know it's
Thank you.
it's hard, but it's courageous. So we appreciate that, and I
Thank
hope
you.
that someone listening really needed to hear something that's like, okay, I'm not the lone wolf in this.
Right,
Because when you're
right,
down in that hole, you think you are. You think no one else
right.
has
We
ever
do.
dealt or experienced anything that you're dealing with. And not that they'll have the exact same experiences, but more people have been in those places than we think.
Yeah, we think we're the common denominator.
Right.
It must be me.
You're right. Exactly.
Right.
Um, so we always are interested in how our guests want to be remembered. When it's all said and done, when their time on earth is over, how do you want people to remember you?
I want people to, well, my first answer is to that I was a hope dealer.
Okay.
I'm a hope dealer. Um, And but but also I think I want people to hopefully feel like what I don't necessarily need to be remembered for what I do or anything that I've done or said, or it's like that Maya Angelou quote, people will remember you for how you made them feel. And I hope that the way that I've made other people feel is is puts a light in their life, however that may be.
Love that.
That's great.
Love that.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Charity, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Tim, thanks for helping set this up. This
Yeah,
was,
thank you. This was great.
yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to learn about you and what you do, and thank you for the work that you do for other
Thank
people.
you. I really appreciate you guys too. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe potentially in the future around too, just to kind of update on how things have been going. And
Heck yeah, I'm game.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure
Yes.
there's always,
Programs out in
always more to
April.
tell. I really enjoyed this discussion. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot more to talk about in the future. So
Yeah,
again,
maybe I can take you through some processes.
yeah,
That'd be
of course.
cool if we did that on the show so people can like, hey, they went through it. Like,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, again, we really appreciate your time. We're
Thank
so
you.
we're meeting again this week. So what we're gonna
Okay.
do is we'll attach a 2 to 3 minute intro onto it,
Okay.
and then we'll send everything to you. And my goal is to send that to you this week,
Okay.
so that you can review everything. And yeah, and then we'll publish from there. So
Okay, I'm excited. Thank you
yeah,
guys so
us
much.
too.
too.
Thank you again.
Yeah,
You have a good
thank
rest
you.
of
You
your
guys are
day.
great. All right, bye bye.
Bye.
See ya.